Good evening!
Oh my goodness me.
Like the Christmas thing, do you know?
Oh, good evening and happy Christmas pre-Eve.
Eve.
Devil's in the
Oh,
detail.
so you must be so excited having a young daughter, getting all ready for the stuff that's coming. Come on, have you got
Do,
everything sorted?
do you know that's so accurate? It's really put the bajazz back into
Christmas.
back into Christmas. And I've always been a fan of Christmas, I admit. You know, I love some Christmas decorations and an excuse to watch Love Actually and maybe have a glass of champagne. And also, it's just a great excuse to catch up with loads of people that you haven't during the year, loved
Yeah.
ones and the rest. But having a 2-year-old now,
Mm.
you know, there's extra magic around it. There's extra sprinkle around the tree. Let's be honest. You've
Oh,
been through that, Brendan. You know what it's
yeah.
like.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm just having a quick look at our live. There's people coming on. Something's gone wrong my end, so I'm going to have a look to see if I reboot my Facebook, I'll be able to see the comments
Oh
because there
my
are people
goodness.
on
I'm so glad this is happening to you, not me. Happy Christmas.
there. Happy Christmas. Anyway,
How is
well,
your Christmas preparations going, Brendan?
do you know what? It's that rush before the break, and that's the thing, is always remembering that there's more to fit in than you actually probably need to fit in, but you feel like you need to fit in extra because you're not going to be around for at least a week. So
100%. Well, welcome to the mind music of the entrepreneur.
yeah, it's wonderful. I am really enjoying it. Really, it's just so many things to do, but I love all of the aspects of all of the different things that I'm involved with, from Bella and Duke through to what we do with the health sensei, to the work at the vets with Tower Wood, to all of the fun we've been having with RPM this year. You know, we did a bit of a review yesterday to go through that. So, you know, it's just been brilliant. So,
It's all very well deserved, and it's nice to see anybody following their passion.
yeah, well, you know, and the thing that I wanted to bring tonight was actually in all of that rushing and prep and stuff, is that I haven't really managed to give people at home who haven't necessarily been in to see us some stuff that they can do for their pets, but also for themselves
Oh,
for Christmas, you know, because, you know, there's so much that, you know, I remember when I first was a vet, the number of people that would ring in with the classics for Christmas Day, out of hours, you know, 7 o'clock in the evening, or even worse, 8 o'clock on Boxing Day morning. You'd get the, I wonder if you could help me. My dog has eaten, uh, you know, and you know,
oh, yeah, of
and we should go
course.
through all of those. So I think we sort of need to just touch on those so that people have got a bit of an understanding of what to look out for, what they should try and lift out of the way of their dogs so that they're not on the coffee table in front of the
Or like some
TV.
crispy turkey skin. Hello, pancreatitis. Please step up.
Oh, well, look, you know, it goes all the way to the classic when I was doing an out of hours service for the whole of Leeds at the PDSA, and somebody had left the carving knife in the joint. Okay. And so
Oh,
the
holy moly.
Staffordshire
Please tell
Bull
me this
Terrier
isn't a real story.
this is absolutely God's honest truth, grabbed the knife, okay, swallowed it, handle first.
Oh,
Fortunately, obviously, as it went down into the esophagus, so we took an x-ray. My colleague lifted the dog up, checked the table just to make sure nobody had left a knife on the table. We had a 12-inch carving knife, swallowed handle first,
oh my
into, you know,
goodness me.
resting in the stomach of the dog with the blade up through the cardiac sphincter into the esophagus. So yeah, that's one thing just to be aware of.
Oh
Don't
my
let your
goodness
dog-
me. I don't know why you had to tell me that. Oh, oh no.
so desperate things can happen. So yeah, just yeah, be a wee bit careful with those really tasty juices hanging around for your little pooches. You know, especially those that can jump to counter height quite easily. So
Yeah, no, I did read a stat, and I don't know if this fact or fiction or utter pup fiction. Please, you can direct us on this one.
he's
It's
getting into the
something
film.
like
He's going to be doing
90.
this before you know it. It'll be like,
Absolutely. Rain down upon you. About 90% of cases of pancreatitis in North America happen immediately after Thanksgiving, because
wow.
people obviously give this ultra heat treated, super crispy turkey skin, which is all the bad fats, all
Mm.
oxidized, to their dogs as a treat. For a treat this year, I'm going to sabotage my dog's health for the rest of its life.
And the
Happy
thing is,
Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving.
and what people just get is, oh, it must be because of the fatty food. But no, it's actually how it's cooked. It's all the oxidation, it's the processed stuff. And actually, the amount of super processed food that we have on our table, it's not just the fatty turkey skins or whatever. It's all of the pigs in blankets, the, you know, extra pickles, the all of the sweet stuff. And then we're going to come on to, I think this is the right point to bring in, really importantly, the mince pies and the Christmas puddings. Okay. Now, guys, if you haven't already heard of this, and I'm sure that just about everybody on the planet by now should have heard this, but please remember, for our little furry friends, grapes have a toxin within them. And that toxin is also found in any raisins, so anything that's dried. So raisins, sultanas, any of those that are then put into our food. So whether that be some plum pudding, Christmas pud, mince pie, panna cotta, whatever it is that you're sticking that dried fruit into, okay, if it contains grapes, or even if you're just doing a, you know, forest mix and you're grabbing raisins out and you're giving them to the kids in their stockings, please make sure if your dogs are anywhere near them, they're out of reach, because the toxin that's in there is not something that will kill them like that, but it is something that is cumulative and will take time and will knock out their kidneys. And if you say to me, and I've had many clients say, oh, well, we've given them a grape every now and again, they've never dropped dead, they're not going to drop dead. Okay. What happens is, if you just do it occasionally, their kidneys slowly go into failure, and they then start having a problem around 8 or 9 or 10. But the big issue is if they have been fed or have scavenged stuff like that, that extra mince pie, that piece of Christmas pudding could be the precipice which
Yeah,
pushes them over the edge for their kidneys.
yeah, I've heard similar. It's a really good point. And if we have to actually repeat this every year, let's do this.
Yeah,
For all those people who actually know this, thank you for indulging it. For
yeah,
those people, there only needs to be one person who doesn't know for every time we do this. We've saved a dog's life, or at least the potentially going off the precipice.
yeah.
And it's funny because I have people in the human side say, come over to me and say quite often, and they've been doing something which is ultra health threatening. And so I've been doing it for years and it never bothered me until then. And it's like, do you think it's the fact that you've been doing it for years which has added up to this?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Yeah, you do wonder, don't you? You just sort of like, yeah, it's sometimes that disconnect when they've been doing something that's sort of crept under the radar.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it's the same with the smoking scenario. You know, people start off smoking, it's a social thing, it's, you know, feels great because they're doing it amongst friends. There's no real, sort of big issue as far as they're concerned. And then suddenly they hit 40 if they're lucky. And then all of a sudden health issues start to creep up on them. Their lung capacity is not quite what it should be, but there's all sorts of other stuff, isn't there, with that's created by the inflammation that creeps up on them. And all of a sudden,
you know, I'm almost not going to go into this rabbit hole. And why? It's Christmas, and you know, there's zero judgment here from Rowan D. Sanderson. And my goal always in our practice is to empower people to live whichever life they want with all of the things they want. But what I will say about that is there seems to have been a social desensitization to the effects of smoking recently in this last 10, 15 years, where it's made a comeback and it's almost like a rebel against society or something. It's like you're just rebelling against yourself, point one. Point two is the thing that freaks me out is actually more about what it's doing to that inflammation around your heart and how oxidizing those cholesterol molecules is really double dangerous. It's this unseen killer effect which is going on. Now, we'll cover more about that when we do heart health and we have a dive into it. But that's just something to be aware of. Anyway, hopefully you've saved a dog, Brendan, or maybe several.
And remember, if they do consume some of that, there is an injection that can make them sick. Okay, and I'm sorry if you're eating your tea right now, but just for a point of view of, you know, if there's something super toxic, and I'm going to touch on a few other things this evening for dogs that may go into that bracket, there is an injection that can be given. It will make them sick within 2 to 3 minutes, but you can't leave the stuff on board for 2 to 3 hours and then take them to the vet. You know, if you've seen them, let's list the things. Okay, the big things: chocolate, okay, macadamia nuts, especially covered in chocolates. Okay, just out of interest, there one nut that is poisonous for dogs. Onions, especially in sage and onion stuffing. People forget about that actually they're packed with loads of onion in sage and onion stuffing. Okay, we've talked about mince pies and Christmas pud. Anything along those lines. There are some other things that they may come across that in the toys side of things that it's worth making them sick for. Any pitted fruits, so fruits which have a stone in, okay, then sometimes it's better if they've taken a whole apricot or something like that, or a plum, that it's best to make them sick to bring it up, because the esophagus is far more likely to pass that than allowing it to go down the intestine and get lodged somewhere in the intestine, especially for a smaller dog.
Yeah.
For a Great Dane, it probably will pass through at that sort of size. Peach, not so much, okay, but certainly some of the smaller ones. But anything like that, just bear that in mind. Please try and avoid those if you can, and if you can't, and it's got into the stomach, please ring your emergency vets. So one of my number one tips for your prep for Christmas, please make sure you know what your vet's emergency service is and how to get hold of that at this point. So if you don't know right now and you can't find it online, give them a ring when it's their opening hours. You've got another day to 2 days at least to work that out. Okay?
Do you know, this is so obvious, it's absolute gold.
Yeah.
You know, it really is. And I empathize with anybody who's been through that. And my one point on this is time is of the essence. Having gone through this 2-3 times with Mr. Mustache, our errant ginger cat. Holy moly. You know, for those of you who don't know, Mr. Mustache, our cat, went through a thing of I think it was mainly attention seeking, of actually eating the top of our baby's bottles
Oh God,
and
I remember.
swallowing them. And at one point turned his intestines inside out and was in horrible pain. Now, apart from the fact he was in horrible pain, it left us in horrible financial pain as well. He's fine, by the way. He's absolutely fine. But he did this twice, and we were left with staggering bills for people to go in out of hours with a camera and perform some surgery. So, yes, time is of the essence. If you can actually make your dog or cat sick up the offending item before you go into the requiring Steven Spielberg to go in there, I advise it.
With a camera. Oh, bless. So do look at that. There is an injection, so all is not lost if that happens. I want to just clear up something as well, actually, whilst there's quite a few things online which will look at onions and say how toxic they are for dogs, okay, and cats as it happens. And then they'll bring in the old garlic and go, and that's just as bad. Okay. And what I'd like to say is that actually it takes, I'm just going to, just for purposes of, you'll hear
You're
a little
going
bit.
to eat a raw bulb of garlic live
Oh,
on
yeah,
there
just
and then
online, just
kiss
to
your
really
dog
upset my wife.
because that's how Christmassy you feel.
Happy Christmas, everybody.
Yes, except to vampires in the Ilkley Massive.
So it takes 20 of those a day for 7 days to be toxic to a 10-kilo dog. Okay. So just before you get all upset about you've got garlic in their bone broth, or you've got garlic in,
Gravy.
some gravy or some flea or tick treatment or whatever, it's, the papers actually show, yes, it is toxic, but you have to reach a level of 20 cloves per day for 7 days to show any effects in a 10-kilo dog. Okay, so just be aware. That's quite a lot.
Interestingly, compare and contrast, what is the dose sensitivity for onions on approximately a 10-kilo dog?
One of those will probably cause your 10-kilo dog's blood cells to start breaking down, and to also, in some cases, stops the hemoglobin working. So it actually creates a methemoglobin, which basically turns their blood chocolatey, stops them carrying oxygen. Not very nice.
No. Okay. So it's good to be aware.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So just to give you a little bit of insight there. So that's the horrible stuff. Let's talk a little bit about, because we don't want to be judgmental. And, we're all partial to enjoying Christmas.
We're all about the empowerment.
And but I would, I'm going to bring some dog stuff on so that we know what to do in the aftermath. Okay. But I'd love to hear from you, Rowan. And I've got my props here ready. Okay. So, if we're partial to a little bit of G&T and the odd dram of whiskey, okay.
I don't know what you've been taking, Brendan. Maybe it's the peptides, but your hands have got massive.
I know. The bottles are getting smaller. I'm in Yorkshire, okay, and that's all we can afford. That's my wife's, and that's mine.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas, dear. Anyway. We've gone from 70 CL to 7.
Yeah, that's inflation saved everyone's liver.
So lots of people talk about, look, they want to enjoy themselves. What's wrong with having the odd, thirsty ferret? Okay, a little bit of beer, a little bit of alcohol. It's all about fun. Why are you spoiling my downtime? So where does that come in the grand scheme of things? What alcohol's good, because we hear a glass of red wine should be great. Okay. What sort of levels do you say should be reasonable for somebody to take? And what sort of gets to be a little bit, guys, maybe just back off. What's your experience?
Well, I've got good news and bad news on this, Brendan.
Okay, he says this is not gin, this is water. Honest.
The bad news is that there has been a swathe of research that has come out in the last 3 months, and the whole heart health resveratrol and longevity studies with maybe a little bit of alcohol in the diet has not simply been blown out the water. It's been blown out the water and then ceremoniously sunk. So there's some science facts, and then there's some reality facts. The science facts are actually the more we understand about alcohol as a toxin, the more we realize that it's super neurotoxic, and it brings with it virtually zero benefit. Okay. Now, the good news is, and it comes in 2 parts. 1, we're not judgmental. 2, we don't care. And 3, we have a couple of offsets and things which will really lower the damage for you. Because and I've always found this in practice, is that actually it's not about the science or the facts. It's about meeting people where they are and supporting them in their choices. And that's the key part. There are lots of people who say, well, and I've heard this before, well, you've got to have some fun and you only live once. And let's be honest, Ro has definitely indulged in a few Christmases, and I've certainly looked after a few wayward rock stars, film stars, actresses, etc. I'm bringing
I just put my hand up to wayward, not to rock star or film star. But
yeah. Exactly. There's only so much karaoke the local pub can actually ban you from. So here are some great things, Brendan. Now, obviously, if you think of AON, there's avoidance, which not everybody's going to want to do. But what you might want to do is be selective about the types of alcohol that you do indulge in. I know we have a view that tequila is for shots and stag do's, but tequila, ironically, is one of the least damaging alcohols because of the way it's transformed into or not into formaldehydes. Acetaldehydes.
I'm listening.
So the lighter, clearer alcohols are generally the better. The less sugar are generally the better. Beers really mess with your hormones. And if you're going to go for wine, definitely try and go for a high quality red wine, which has ideally not too many sulfites in. Oh my goodness. Now, there's a couple of things you can do. So we've talked about avoidance or being selective. There's the neutralizing part of it. Now, something you can do which really lowers the amount of toxins that you will be absorbing yourself while you're having a few drinks is get something like an ultra binder. Now, this is really, really interesting. Why? It's not simply it's not simply charcoal, because everybody says charcoal, but charcoal is not very good at binding with alcohol. This is different. Why? It's got actually a little bit of clay in it, which is excellent at trapping the toxins in alcohol. It's also got some aloe vera in it. And
so this
silica.
Isn't potter's clay. Okay, let's just be clear about this. Isn't
and definitely don't bake yourself after eating it.
This is like usually a monterillamite, so an edible green clay or something along those lines.
Yes, exactly.
So
but you're not going to mix it yourself. You're going to get a specific binder, and it's worth it. The difference it makes, and in fact, when I came to visit you at the RFVS, knowing that we would indulge that evening, I popped a few capsules of this and made sure I drank plenty of water, and it makes me feel so much better in the morning. Now, one of the top tricks I do before, and I've not shared this with you before, Brendan, I'm letting you into the inner circle, is I take some hydrogen.
All right. Okay. Yep.
Now, hydrogen is the most potent antioxidant on the face of the planet. And what you do is you take it about 20 minutes before you take this. Why? Because this will bind to pretty much everything you take afterwards. So you need to take some hydrogen before. Now, there's a really important thing you do when you're taking it is you pop it into your glass of water, you pop a tablet in, and you want to get as much of that gas as possible. So start drinking it within 20 seconds of it going into the glass and keep topping up the glass, right, until it's all dissolved, and keep drinking it. The molecule hydrogen is so small, it goes through the cell walls. People who've been taking it for a month have noticed a difference in the skin. It is exceptional. So that plus that is absolute gold. Take some the day before, the night before you do it. Take some in the morning, and that is those two things are a huge get out of jail free card.
Now, I'm going to apologize to everybody out there. I know there are some science geeks that follow us, okay? And I desperately want to understand this little nuance, okay? So for some of us who know our molecular chemistry, we're going to be thinking, okay, hydrogen, okay, is a gas. We're not going to see it, okay? And if we make it into a solid, it's got to be super, super cold, okay, in order to do that. Or we're going to have to chelate it with something else to effectively create a salt, so a hydrogen ion bound to something.
Yep.
So please tell me, give me the insight, okay? In the tablet, what is in it and how does it release the hydrogen without it being super cold, or even a liquid gas, okay, that would be super cold?
Right. Well, that depends, Brendan. That depends on the brand. So for instance, this is ionic hydrogen bound with magnesium.
Right.
So it's a magnesium glycinate. So it's really win-win. I actually have a research nutritionals one.
Okay.
Which has got quite a bit of magnesium in it. And I have the Quicksilver one, and I just have it down here. And this one has got adipic acid, sodium sterofumarate, tartaric acid. It's in a matrix. It goes into a matrix.
Not just purely a hydrogen ion, so an acid, because H plus creates an acid solution.
Oh, golly, of course not. And there's a couple of things. Is one, go for a reputable brand. Quicksilver is a really good one. This Research Nutritionals is also really great. I get this from Amrita. The thing that you should be aware of is you want the gas. It is very reactive, and people are making a fortune erroneously or wrongly selling hydrogen water in plastic sachets. That's no good. Why? The hydrogen molecules are so small, it actually leaves the plastic. So this is why you want it in a stable form, in a tablet, for it to put it into your water and drink it as it goes.
Okay.
So you've hit on something really important there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But those two are my favorite. My next one, Brendan, is glutathione.
Great. Yeah.
Glutathione, keep it at home, a liposomal formula in your fridge, 5 mils before you go out with your hydrogen. Then
is that the one that smells slightly of cabbage?
It does. It is. A lot of people go, this tastes awful. You can get it with some natural lemon or orange flavor if you're
things like that.
Exactly. There's some really quality brands out there now. It's important how you store it.
Right.
Some are more stable than others, but basically, if you're going to look at your Christmas Holy Trinity get out of jail free card, it would be liposomal glutathione, H2 ionic hydrogen.
Life do one.
Yes, they do. And it's one of the more affordable brands, Lipolife. So The Holy Trinity, just to recap, is liposomal glutathione, some ionic hydrogen with something like a magnesium in it, and then some ultra binder. Now, the ultra binder comes in capsule form, or you can get it in sachets. Sometimes I've only had a sachet, and anyway, we won't go into that. But those three things are pretty much the biggest wins that you can get, and will allow you to indulge and feel great the next day.
Yeah, and so I'd like to reflect, because that's not just necessarily about indulging in alcohol, that's also indulging in foods, you know. So
Oh, for sure.
you're really getting rich foods and that side of things. For some people, they cope. For others, it becomes a little bit of a nightmare for their gut. I think all of those things that you've just talked about can be great, but this also reflects for your dogs. You know, for many of us, you know, we can't resist those gooey eyes that are looking up from under the table, or you know, they're sat next to us, and you know, the relatives are all of a sudden, you know, their hands coming off the table, under the table, and before you know it, there's 12 pigs in blankets have disappeared into the dog from each individual person around the table. Let alone some of the sprouts where you're trying to use them as a waste disposal, so you're dipping them in gravy and sticking them in the dog. But you know, from a point of view of, be aware that even the non-toxic stuff, you know, can give your dog's tummy a bit of an upset. And there is, just as we've talked about the binder that's there, there are some pastes that are available from pet stores and from vets, which are like a probiotic paste, but with a lot of postbiotics, prebiotics, and also the monterillamite clay in there. So that is something that can be really useful to have pre-bought before Christmas. So again, preparation for Christmas. You know, when you're out shopping, if your pet store doesn't have one of the brands like Protexin, or there's so many out there now, that the Vet Plus Digestive Health one, the NutriVet Do one, yeah, they're usually sort of around the, if your dog's got diarrhea, this is the paste to use. You double dose them for the first day, and then it's a single dose daily thereafter for 3 days or so. 90% of diarrheas will clear up with that. Now, the exceptions are going to be if your dog is vomiting, or if there's severe blood in the feces. Please make sure you're in touch with your local vet. Okay. But if it's just eating too much, bit of a groany tummy, has some loose stool, okay, is out straining, passing jelly mucus, that can be a lifesaver as far as just being able to give it and dose it accordingly. Of course, try to avoid, you know, advise the family, look, you know, 1 maybe, 2 max, anything beyond that, wow, that's far too much, you know.
Yeah, and especially when you start looking at
Yeah,
the size/weight of a dog.
sure.
Yeah, it's not like they have an off button. And
Yeah.
just because a dog, you know, and this is where zoo pharmacognosy always falls down for me. Yeah, the dog
Well,
will sniff
anything I
out
could.
what's good for it. Not always.
Well, it's the same. There was a great experiment in the 1920s, Claire's Kids, which is around an orphanage. And actually, it was amazing when they gave them a full range of foods, watching even those children being able to go for the things that they really needed, even down to cod liver oil and stuff like that, that you'd think, oh my God, that'd be terrible, over sugar being put on the table. But as I said last night, there's always that exception. I think if people push the button and are fixated on addiction, you know, addiction will always override sensible brain decisions.
Well,
So
of course it does. And, you know, it's not just a longer term addiction. your point you raise is really important. It's not just a longer term addiction where people get this certain high or a certain buzz or an opiate buzz from, and we know the classic opiate buzz is cheese on toast.
Comfort foods. We love comfort foods.
Gluteomorphin and caseomorphin stick together, both set on those opioid receptors in your brain, and people go, it's warming, it's nourishing, it's thing. You listen to what your body needs. No, you're pacifying yourself. That's okay. It should be part of the psycho test. Who doesn't like cheese on toast?
See, this is the bit where I want that little emoji of, is it Maggie from The Simpsons doing the sucking on the pacifier?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But, addictions aren't simply things which are, sit on sensors or we've become addicted to. It could simply be that you're on a sugar roller coaster. Now, there will be people out there listening to this who are nodding sagely, remembering, 20 years ago, eating a space cake, then going around and eating everything in the house. So, I'm assuming that not everybody's going to be eating a space cake on some Moroccan beach hut at Christmas. But for those of you who get onto a sugar roller coaster, do be aware that you might need to just stabilize your sugar, drink a load of water. And one of the really good things you can do is have a strategic intermittent fast. If you want to feel better and you really indulge the night before, rather than getting straight, and I'm talking food, alcohol, the whole shebang, Brendan, is that the best thing you can do is get up in the morning, drink a load of water, preferably with some ionic hydrogen in it, go for a walk with your dog, a nice long walk before you eat, maybe with a coffee. That break allows your body to actually, and I'm going to use the word detoxify, which I know is nonsense, and but I'm going to use the word detox. I'm going to say it's going to allow your body to do the job it wants to do, which is look after you and keep you alive.
Absolutely. So no breakfast Boxing Day sandwich packed with extra crispy bacon, big white roll, lots of bread and gooey leftovers from the night before. No, don't do that.
I actually feel
alcohol, but that's not really what you want to be doing right now.
I know, and I've obviously been in practice for years and years and years, Brendan, and most people have a better Christmas and have a lot less guilt and just generally feel a lot mentally better and enjoy it, the moments of indulgence, when they actually feel like they're in control of it, they're empowered, and they've actually said they've taken a strategic decision where, do you know what, I'm just going to go out for a really long walk, or even getting up and going for a long walk after Christmas dinner. What it does to your glucose transport is astonishing. What it does is it shuttles a lot of that into your muscle cells, so you don't end up feeling like Jabba the Hutt at the end of it when you're just like stunned with food. You enjoy your whole day, is my point. You enjoy your evening. You're not just actually unconscious. So,
and that brings in, something that I would say has been great listening to you, when we talk about hydration, just the benefits of drinking good water throughout the day, because it inhibits you from overindulging on some of those comfort foods if you are fully hydrated. So actually you can still enjoy those bits, but just take less. So you've got more to spread out through the week or whatever, but just stay hydrated. Get a really good water that you're going to feel great about drinking. Okay, not necessarily tap water in many places around the world, unless you've got some crystal spring outside the back of your house that you're pumping water from. I would say, yes, just think about treating yourself to really good water that you can take a glass, every time you're thinking, I'm a little bit peckish or I want to reach for something sweet, just take yourself a half glass of water and then see how you feel.
Staying hydrated just makes you feel better, full stop. And your point about tap water, totally. Our tap water either comes with extra chlorine or giardia, and they don't seem to have found a happy middle place.
Lovely. Oh, the thought. Yeah, that'll be a Boxing Day to remember.
I think it was the dog. Oh golly, yeah. We did get giardia several times when we didn't realise that every time the water tank at the top of the mountain flooded, it got loads of wildfowl resting in it and obviously defecating in it. But
God.
if anybody does happen to get giardia, I can't really say this live on Facebook and the rest, but there is a really good pharmaceutical hack which will deal with it in 2 to 3 days. It was shared with me by a functional medicine practitioner friend of mine who'd been traveling around India and had tried all the normal things for getting rid of giardia, and this just smashes it.
And it's only available by direct messaging the health sensei, and then somebody can give you a little bit of an insight. So if you want to know what that real great hack is, you're going to have to DM the health sensei, and Irish will get back to you with the special hack.
But the save your bottom hack.
Save your bottom, and it's not a cork. Anyway, so
please don't put that in the thing to poor Irish when you do help at the hand say for her attention, save my bottom. That's not the type of email she needs to require. She needs to receive. Thank you.
So the other things that I would therefore bring in, remember there's a couple of things that we've got to do with our pets. Okay, with Christmas decorations, some of the classics, especially for cats, is tinsel. Or the string of any joint that's been made, because they create a linear foreign body. So people might think, oh, they were playing with it, it disappeared, never mind, it's only thin, it'll be fine. As soon as it's longer than about 3 inches, there is a risk that as it goes through the gut, instead of being nice and flat, suddenly bunches up and scrunches. And just like a hair scrunchie, once it scrunches, it starts tugging the first part, and sometimes it even pulls it through into the other part of the intestine. We call it a linear foreign body. Nightmare to get out. Really not great. Doesn't show easily on X-ray unless it's got loads of metallic stuff on, like some tinsels. And so be aware of if your dog or cat is playing with anything that's of a length. Don't just go, oh, they've eaten it, never mind, it'll be fine. Okay, especially if you've got cats up the Christmas tree. Just be aware of that. And then the other thing is corks. So if you're popping corks, okay, and it sounds like it's fun and it's firing around the room, and you've got a spaniel like mine that's like super alert to where the cork's gone, okay, please don't let them pick it up and eat it. Okay, even if you think, oh, they're just chewing it up into bits, because they may swallow, especially champagne corks, just the right size to block the intestine. Okay?
Well, let's face it. I mean, that's what corks were designed to do. Not block intestines, but block something.
Block a hole.
Exactly. So it's good to be reminded about these, because so many things. And I mean, mustache our cat, frankly, if there's anything dangerous, he can sniff it from like 15 meters away. You know, you remember the time I phoned you up and I was like, Brendan, what's going on? He's doing these special foamy burps and falling over. And you were like, does he have toads in the garden? It was like, we get these really big toads which come out in February. And Mustache has obviously been out bothered one.
Oh, famous licking toads. Yeah.
And it's reaped its psychoactive revenge on him. That was the first and last time he did ayahuasca.
Is that
not true? He goes every year, 3 years old, every year. Toad's out. Oh, I'm going to go for my private ayahuasca ceremony. Back down the end of the garden.
Oh, gets the animal communicator in. Tells him
Absolutely.
all of the stuff that he saw in his dream.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think he's claiming to be a shaman these days. He's so experienced.
Oh, so
He's a
what else
shakat.
can we say? Yes. Um, so I've got two more things that I would like to share with people. So anything else that we've not covered for the human side in indulgence for Christmas?
I think we've done more about empowerment on the human side because you
Yeah.
feel in charge. Uh, what I would say is there are things that you know that you're probably intolerant to. All I would do is invite people to really consider if you're intolerant or even if you're allergic to, is it actually a treat to get in there and really threaten your immune system with it?
Mm.
Now, I'm speaking as one who has a couple of allergies, and there are ways that I've got round them in the past, but actually, I always end up paying for it. And to the point where I go, that is actually not a treat.
Yeah.
You know, that looking like one of the toads that mustache would lick in the garden is not a treat. And I don't mean from vanity perspective, I just mean how you feel. So
For the 30
I,
seconds of blue cheese on your tongue,
yeah,
really, is it worth it?
exactly.
Yeah.
Massively allergic to penicillin. Wow, that looks so good on a steak. Uh, it's like just choose your indulgences
Mm.
and being wise about that, taking a bit of a break, staying hydrated, taking some really good antioxidants, taking some things to bind to toxins. It's pretty much giving you the grown-up carte blanche to go out, look after yourself, indulge, not be a party pooper,
Mm.
and just make some sensible decisions. You will feel so good in the morning when you go, wow, I went out, I spoke to everybody, I had loads of fun. I was awake all night, I was alert all night, I was loads of fun all night. And I had an indulgence, but actually, so what? I feel great. I'm going to go out and walk the
Went to
dog.
bed, had a great sleep, and I actually remembered Christmas. I
Yeah.
mean, that's the thing,
Yeah,
you
I
don't.
didn't wake up with 2 traffic cones in the bed and a policeman outside the door and a car on its roof, which isn't even your car. What?
You mean the door being straight bars?
Yeah, exactly. There's I'm thinking Leonardo DiCaprio, the replay of him getting home in his, I think whatever it was, DeLorean or. But the point being, in all sincerity, do choose your indulgences and really enjoy them, and do so guilt-free, and go, okay, well, I've got this in perspective. I'm enjoying it because you need to have a healthy attitude with what you imbibe.
And it's a little bit late to do this little prep for Christmas, but maybe for next year. And I'm just going to do this
Have
because
11 months off food and alcohol.
yeah.
It's
is
brilliant. Thanks, Brendan.
I'm reaching for a fermented food here. So this is a kefir drink, okay? So this is a kefir water rather than. So loads of people have issues with dairy, but they do kefir water. But there is a great ferment that you can make with red cabbage and through adding in a little bit of beetroot. So instead of doing the cooked red cabbage, I found a really great, almost like sauerkraut slash kimchi that I found really good to have as that dish. Super easy because you can, prepare it 2 weeks in advance, ferment it yourself. It's really easy to do. Have a look at some of the online recipes, get that fermenting, and literally you can serve it straight onto the Christmas table as if you'd done the cooked red cabbage. Okay. And it's super healthy, adds in some nice probiotics at the time. By the time they've gone through your stomach, I'm afraid most of those bacteria will have died off. Okay. But the postbiotics, the vitamins, the nutrients within it can be great for you and are just a nice healthy addition to your Christmas table. So do have a little look at that.
Will you be doing a turkey this year, Brendan?
So I have gone so to a very specific place to get, yes, turkey, but reared in a specific way, because I've done a lot of work over the last year looking at meats and what they have eaten and the effects that they have. So,
100%.
so I am actually getting something that's is organically reared, grass reared, out and about in woodland
Yes.
areas as well. Okay, for any poultry, if they're woodland reared, is really good. They're getting insect life. They're getting all sorts of
Is
additions.
is is
Um,
this somewhere in East Anglia?
no, no,
Um,
no, no. This is up in Yorkshire.
oh, wow, because I used to get a traditional Christmas turkey from somebody who did very similar thing, and it was a Kelly Bronze, which had been outdoor reared, and you
Oh,
need to have to
yeah,
book it like months and months and months in
yeah,
advance.
yeah. So we've got some great farm shops that deal with this sort of stuff, and that's where I've gone.
Brilliant.
And that's so that enables me to feel indulging in that. I get it boned because I used to get the turkey, cook it, then reboil all the bones down, make bone broths and everything else. And I said to Christina, my wife, this year, I said, look, let's get something that we can just slice and dice, and we're not going to be wasting stuff, and it's just going to be prepped for us. It's going to be covered in a nice, great organic outdoor reared bacon alongside a outdoor reared turkey, jointed, stuffed with some great
I'm getting quite hungry, Brendan. I might need to go.
yeah. I could see it. So, there's options, always options, isn't there? Just to enhance your Christmas dinner any way you can. And even thinking about gravies, some of the great gravies out there, have benefits for you.
Oh,
If
hugely.
you do it right, they are effectively a bone broth.
Yes.
And you can get bone broths like this one, okay, which you can have as a powder, okay, which have got collagen in. You can add grass-fed collagen to thicken it if you like, okay. So there's a number out there that you can get as grass-fed, grass-finished hydrolyzed collagens if you want to thicken it without using like a flour or anything like that. And that can be really beneficial to you for your body, your gut lining,
Oh,
how you use that.
and if you actually
But
put in
also
some
for your dog.
pancetta in there as well, Brendan, with the
Oh,
turkey juices when you've roasted it. Now, and then I'd noticed last year I managed to perfect it. We did one on like a giant barbecue outside. I
yeah.
took it out, and the turkey and the gravy was exactly, it was like a bone broth, but super savory. And it went
Mm,
gelatinous when it went cold. You could
yeah,
actually cut it into cubes and it would wobble
yeah,
like a jelly. That is so good for your gut lining. That
yeah.
gelatin really,
Mm,
really,
mm,
really heals your gut, and it gets used
yeah,
in your skin. It enhances absorption. It's super bioavailable, and it's just
super great.
offensively tasty.
Yeah, no, so all great. And then there's great other things that you might want to just add as, sprinkles onto any, even that kimchi version. You can use pomegranate, you can use cranberries, just get fresh and just sprinkle on. You don't need to go for the super sugared stuff. There's some great flavors just right there with great benefits.
Yeah.
So enjoy your Christmas dinner. I hope you have a glorious time with your pets and your family and friends. And even if you're on your own, think, we're there with you really to help you out. And really looking forward to 2024 and sorting out some health stuff for pets and people together.
Do you know, wise words? Please, everybody, have an amazing holiday, and it's about connection, not presence. Or rather, your presence and your connection, rather than presence with a T.
Yeah.
I confess,
Presents, not
Brendan,
presents.
Yeah, exactly. The man's
Oh
speaking
my
in
God.
riddles. Is he drunk? Take some more ultra binder. I confess, I am more excited about 2024 than I can actually remember, for to put into place a couple of health things, which I've not fully shared with you yet, Brendan, but I've got a health adventure planned for the health sensei and myself next year, based on a few new learnings. And I'll be taking people on that journey, but also about all the people we are going to help. The female hormone thing is really taking off. The interest, and when you think it's 50% of the population of the planet is female, and about 50% of them are of an age where hormones are playing a huge role in the quality of their lives. So being able to actually perfect and improve and polish our offering so that people are listened to compassionately and dealt with timely and scientifically, so that they're empowered to live vibrantly, it gets me out of bed.
Yeah, and had so much interest about the cellular health tests and the omega-3s, had so much health. There's not just the female hormones, but the Dutch tests for looking at male hormones. And into dogs, we're going to be looking into that in the new year. So we've got all of that to come together. So that's going to be so exciting.
You've not tried the balance oil yet that goes with the cellular health test, have you?
No.
It's
Have you?
really nice. It's got an amazing citrus flavor to it. And I've been putting it into a special bespoke sleep stack, which I will share with people. Glycine is part of it. But be using that. Feedback from my partner is, it's amazing. Why haven't you done that before? It tastes like Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops. Oh my God.
I was like, when did you have Fruit Loops? Do we share?
Oh, so there's so much to come. I'm looking forward to all of these new tests and stuff that we're going to do. The heart health stuff, the genetic methylation stuff. Oh, I'm just so excited. We've got all of that to come. So if you guys are super interested in your health, super interested in longevity and maintaining your health span, then please join us on this journey. Join us through 2024 and beyond. And we look forward to seeing you on the other side of Christmas.
Yeah, where there will be no guessing, just testing and facts.
Yeah.
Bon, peace out. Brendan, thanks for your time. Great to see you.
No problem. Take care, everyone.
All right, happy Christmas,
Bye-bye. Have a
everyone.
good Christmas.